Welcome to Drips News. Stay connected with us online for the latest updates. Tonight, we dive into the turbulent world of international trade under President Trump, explore the ripple effects of tariffs on businesses and markets, and examine the cybersecurity landscape amidst political upheaval. Buckle up, it's going to be an intense ride. Following a week of dramatic tariff shifts, President Trump is charting a course for trade negotiations with approximately 75 nations. While a temporary tariff pause spurred a stock market rally, a baseline 10% import tax remains. Trump acknowledges transition problems, but assures a positive outcome. Kevin Hassett indicates that the administration has offers from over 15 countries, and the focus is now on defining Trump's negotiation priorities. Despite his assertive approach, the U.S. government's massive debt renders it susceptible to investor sentiment, as demonstrated by the bond market's reaction to tariff policies. Rising interest rates on Treasury notes signal investor unease, potentially impacting consumer rates. Trump, initially critical of investors, later lauded the bond market following the tariff pause. This sets the stage for the next segment, exploring the tangible impact of these policies on businesses. Trump's tariff policies, particularly the staggering 145% tax on Chinese goods, are causing significant disruption for Amazon sellers who rely on Chinese manufacturing. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy anticipates that these costs will be passed on to consumers, although Amazon is attempting to mitigate the impact through strategic inventory management and renegotiations. While tariffs were temporarily lowered for most countries, China faces increased rates, reminiscent of levels not seen since the Great Depression. Companies like Portable Winch Company are reevaluating their business strategies, considering a shift to European markets. CNBC spoke with Amazon sellers like Dusty Kenny, who expressed concern that absorbing the tariffs could jeopardize her business, highlighting the competitive disadvantage faced by U.S.-based businesses compared to their Chinese counterparts. This economic pressure extends beyond trade, as we'll see in our next story on cybersecurity. Amidst escalating cybersecurity threats from China and ransomware attacks, the U.S. cyber defense community is reeling from President Trump's actions against former CISA Director Chris Krebs. Employees at CISA report feeling under attack by their own administration, struggling to focus on their mission. Trump's order for a Justice Department investigation into Krebs following his dismissal and security clearance revocation is viewed by many as politically motivated, stemming from Krebs' rejection of election fraud claims. This internal turmoil coincides with growing external threats, painting a picture of instability and uncertainty. Now let's pivot back to the economic front and examine the broader market reactions to Trump's policies. President Trump's abrupt shift in tariff policy has left markets reeling and Wall Street questioning the White House's credibility. Investors dismissed the administration's explanation of the tariff U-turn as a strategic maneuver and were unmoved by promises of tax cuts and deregulation. Thursday saw a significant stock market downturn, with the Dow plummeting. Daniel Alpert of Westwood Capital suggests the market is hesitant, awaiting clarity. Despite an initial rally following the tariff pause, investors face a new reality: unprecedented tariffs on China and a 10% tariff on most other countries, potentially costing American households thousands annually. The average U.S. tariff rate is at its highest since 1909. J.P. Morgan Chase maintains a high recession probability. Even positive economic news failed to lift market sentiment, and Trump acknowledged transition problems. This market volatility is deeply intertwined with the bond market's behavior, as we'll explore next. Global markets are struggling with Trump's tariff policies, leading to stock volatility and an unusual bond market shift. The simultaneous decline of stocks and U.S. Treasuries, typically a safe haven, is a major warning sign. This behavior raises concerns about investor confidence in the U.S. government's ability to meet its debt obligations amidst tariff-related economic uncertainty. Trump himself acknowledged unease about the bond market's movements. Turmoil in the bond market, more than previous warnings, prompted Trump to delay tariffs. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note spiked dramatically. The simultaneous decline in stocks and bonds is a rare phenomenon associated with extreme uncertainty, reminiscent of the pandemic and the 2008 financial crisis. Experts suggest the bond market directly influenced Trump's decision. The next question is, how does this impact the U.S. relationship with China? While global markets rallied after Trump's tariff reprieve, China remains conspicuously absent from U.S. outreach efforts. Instead of a respite, China faces escalated tariffs of 145%, prompting retaliatory measures from Beijing, including limiting the export of American movies. An unprecedented trade war is intensifying, with both countries at a standstill, waiting for the other to concede. The U.S. insists that China must initiate contact, believing Beijing escalated the conflict. This message has been conveyed to Chinese officials, with Trump's team requesting a call from President Xi Jinping. However, Beijing has consistently refused to arrange such a call, signaling a deep impasse. What other consequences might arise from this trade war? In a related development, Ted Cruz has publicly criticized President Trump's tariff strategy, marking another instance of the Texas Republican diverging from the president to pursue his own political objectives. This independent stance by Cruz adds another layer of complexity to the already convoluted political landscape. Let's turn our attention to the European Union. The European Union is mirroring Trump's 90-day tariff pause, temporarily halting retaliation on $23 billion of U.S. goods to allow for negotiations. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen emphasized that countermeasures will be implemented if negotiations fail. The EU's decision aligns with Trump's pause on tariffs, including a 20% levy on EU goods, offering an opportunity to negotiate solutions to trade concerns. Countries benefiting from the pause will still face Trump's 10% baseline tariff. The EU had previously approved retaliatory tariffs in response to U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum. The EU prefers a negotiated resolution and has proposed a zero-for-zero deal, but Trump seeks more concessions. This complex web of international trade relations continues to evolve. What about the fashion industry? In the world of high fashion, Prada is set to acquire Versace for $1.36 billion, uniting two iconic Italian brands. The deal aims to create a multi-billion-dollar luxury fashion group capable of competing with industry giants like LVMH and Kering. Prada's chairman, Patrizio Bertelli, emphasized the goal of preserving Versace's legacy. The acquisition comes as Versace has faced financial challenges, operating at a loss amidst a slowdown in the luxury market. Donatella Versace has transitioned to the role of chief brand ambassador, with Dario Vitali assuming the position of chief creative officer. Let's go back to the topic of trade tensions between Washington and Beijing. As the trade war intensifies, China is matching Trump's tariffs and considering non-tariff measures. China has imposed an additional 50% tariff on U.S. imports, raising its total to 84%. This escalation follows Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods, which now stand at 125%. China's Customs Tariff Commission criticized Trump's actions as a mistake upon another mistake. Due to the imbalance in trade, China may resort to other tactics, such as targeting U.S. agricultural products. Experts suggest that China could halt agricultural imports from the U.S. entirely. And that concludes tonight's broadcast. That's all the news we have for you tonight, but the story doesn't end here. The global stage is set for high-stakes drama, and we'll be here to bring you every twist and turn. So stay informed, stay engaged, and get ready for the next act. Until then, this is Drips News, signing off with a splash.